actually our last event of the year, which is very hard to believe because we do lots and lots of events for any of the Power to Fly frequent flyers that we might have on the line. So, super excited to end the year on this conversation. And today we're going to be talking about the AI skills employers want. I always say AI was the two letters on everybody's lips in 2025 and probably will continue to be in 2026. So without further ado, let's jump on in. And real quick, I do like to just share this code of conduct here. Lots of legalese on the screen, but to sum it all up, it really basically says don't be a jerk. If you have any questions, you can always DM me. And I do like to share that the content we do share in these events is for informational purposes only. Just to tell you a little bit about Power to Fly, if you don't know already, we are a woman led company backed by Morgan Stanley with over 200 million professionals in our network. Our mission is to help organizations attract top talent and retain engaged employees with solutions that simplify recruiting, enhance employee satisfaction, and drive long term business success. And we have also been at the forefront of the future of work and remain huge advocates for remote work, as well as, of course, AI upskilling as well, which will be the basis of today's conversation. And I want to welcome back another. Speaking of frequent flyers, a great speaker we've had before, and you'll see more of in 2026. Tori St. Clair, who's an instructor and enrollment counselor at Skill Crush by Power to Fly. Tori's break into tech story actually began at Skill Crush, and now she helps others write their own. After 10 years as a front desk administrator, she made the leap into tech and now guides students through the Break into Tech program with empathy, structure, and insight, and is also a queer Latina. And I'm married to a queer Latinx person, so I love that as well. So, Tori, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn things over to you. Thank you so much for being here today.
No problem. So happy to be here. And just to chime in with the chat, I'm here in San Diego, California. So Bess is not too far off. Danny is in California as well. I have family from Michigan, for Christy, and for Jay, I have been to Florida, and it was a very nice visit. So thank you all for chiming in. And I am going to share my screen.
And I'll just say while you're
So
doing that, Tori, that if anyone has questions for Tori, please add them to the chat. This is just a 30-minute conversation, so we'll try so we don't have time maybe to get to all questions, but please add those in there. We'll get to as many as possible, as well as some of the questions you pre-submitted.
yes, since this will be a short chat today and I have a lot to cover, I'm going to talk a little bit fast, but hopefully my diction will get through and you'll be able to hear me really quickly. So these are all the things that we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss how machine learning isn't the only or even the best way to get into AI, how to find a way to organically fit AI into your current tech niche or area of interest, how to take your tech skills to the next level with AI tools, and how to get on board with coding the generative AI programs that have the improved retrieval and domain specific content that employers crave. And I'll be going over a little more what that means if that is something that's new to you a little bit later. So let's just start from the first topic. If my computer will listen to me. There we go. So machine learning isn't the only or even the best path to landing high AI value skills. Machine learning is what powers AI models, so it feels like the gateway to working with AI. Machine learning is building AI models. It's math intensive, statistics heavy, has an emphasis on data structures and metastructures. AI models are not hard coded, their environments are structured, and then they are taught to reason with training processes that involve immense computing power. So, if this sounds interesting to you, it's a very, very, very cool area, but it's a very intensive one. And You can build a car, sure, but you can also make a lot of money as a semi truck driver, a race car driver, a rideshare taxi driver without building cars from scratch. So that's kind of the what I want to introduce to you today is the multiple ways that you can jump into using AI that are very valid and being utilized in many ways throughout the job market right now. So there's a lot of AI jobs that work with existing AI models called applied AI. So it's not involving building them from scratch. You can be an applied AI engineer, also called an AI engineer for short. It involves AI integration into programs and apps. You can be a prompt engineer or have that be part of your job, which means talking to models effectively and guiding their outputs. You can be an AI operations engineer, which involves using AI to streamline business processes, eliminate repetitive work, and enhance user experience. And you could be an AI ethics specialist, just to kind of throw in another way that is not so much on the as much on the technical side. So I suggest that you identify where AI naturally fits into your existing niche, stack, or area of interest as the most actionable way to get into AI. There are, and I just want to throw into this particular topic that there are a lot of non-tech jobs using AI that involves prompt writing, which is different than prompt engineering. So prompt writing is what you would be doing as a user that allows you to be smart in the way that you're providing the prompt that the large language model can respond to most effectively. For example, one of the tips that I love to share is that you can tell ChatGPT and a few other models to think longer on an issue that you have, and then it will dedicate more processing power and time to answering your query. So that's something that, as a prompt writer, you would know to get the outputs that you're looking for. Prompt engineering involves, on the programming side, feeding it prompts strategically at different levels that involves some of this prompt writing prowess in addition to programming structures that you're wrapping around it. You can also design databases, which involves curating the data that the AI tool will be fed. You can analyze the data from the outputs, write copy with AI. You can design workflows with AI tool integrations without touching anything technically, and you can implement AI ethics in making company-wide policies and protocols. So next we'll be talking about utilizing AI tools, which really allow you to fit AI into a multiplicity of roles, and I'll get kind of more into the specifics of that. So use AI tools to level up is really huge. Harvard Business said it best when they said somebody who AI isn't going to replace you, but somebody who knows how to use AI will. And that's what they're referring to here is just using the tools that already exist. And you can do this in a way that doesn't replace your craft or your creativity. So just on that topic, AI is most useful to people who know what they are doing because it's a conversation and a back and forth. It's only as good as the inputs you give it, and the outputs need to be edited based on your knowledge and your craft. So learn how to use AI intelligently. Some really great use cases for AI, and notice that none of them involve treat it like an oracle and have it do all of the work for you, are to rapidly prototype ideas guided by your fundamental understanding of the challenges and variables that the particular issue that you have involves. You generate basic implementations of content, code, and data analysis that you can then refine. Explore alternative approaches to known problems. Automate routine tasks. And keep in mind that you can trust the output enough to work with it, but always verify and test, which is important even when, when working with humans as well. So just keeping in mind that it's just as important to do that when working with AI. And just throwing out there when it comes to now the more technical level of people engineering and coding with AI, engineers aren't just vibe coding. So this is from Audie O, an engineering leader at Google. He said AI can get you 70% of the way, but the remaining 30% requires knowledgeable developers. They, engineers, can scaffold entire features in minutes, complete with tests and documentation using AI tools. But watch carefully and you'll notice something crucial. They're not just accepting what the AI suggests, they're constantly refactoring the generated code into smaller, focused modules, adding edge case handling that the AI missed. Edge cases are usually weird things that users are probably going to do. You can't expect them to not, like, who would think of that? They will, trust me, they will. So adding edge case handling that the AI missed, strengthening type definitions and interfaces. And type definitions has to do with how data is labeled, which can majorly affect how the program runs, whether it's maintainable and whether it's scalable over time, meaning new features can be added without things breaking. And questioning architectural decisions, how everything is structured, and adding comprehensive error handling. And honestly, the list goes on and on. I just want to throw out there that people think that coding is cut and dry and that you can just kind of have programs nowadays just build entire apps for you. And for very basic apps that have been built many, many, many times before, maybe so, but that's not what people are making money off of. That's not what companies are based off of. And engineers are utilizing AI in a very complex way. And that's what makes them good at their jobs, using the tools with their knowledge. So just to throw out there, because I know a lot of people are always asking this, just to put out there that here's some AI tools for techies. So Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini are basically the main three models by companies. Claude is by Anthropic, ChatGPT by OpenAI, and Gemini by Google. The reason why they're useful for code is because they're built in such a way that you can have a conversation with them about the whys and the ins and outs. If you don't currently work as a developer, you may not be aware of how much talking about the code and what it's accomplishing, and if that's important for the users, for the stakeholders, for security, etc., is a major part of it. So having a model that is built for conversation is actually incredibly useful for code. That said, GitHub Copilot is the one I'd recommend most for just straight code because it can be built into Git and Git workflows. And you can choose while working with GitHub Copilot if you want to work with a model that is based on Anthropic, OpenAI, or Google. For designers, just a few are Figma AI, Adobe Firefly. So Figma and Adobe, of course, have AI built into them. Stitch and Visily. And so now the next topic is how to integrate AI ethically and responsibly into your workflow from documentation to data. So you want to educate yourself on how to use AI ethically, which includes inclusive prompt writing to avoid bias and to discern if AI generated content is biased, so the outputs that the AI is giving you. Both the inputs and the outputs need to be considered for whether or not they are maintaining a high standard for ethics. When designing with AI tools, familiarize yourself with moderation guardrails that will set limits on the output that users can get out of more open-ended apps. Advocate for users, ensure accessibility, and push for fairness in algorithms and against any implicit bias that hides in data sets. The data needs to be curated to make sure that it is ethical, not biased as well. And fellow thinkers on AI ethics like the Algorithmic Justice League, the Distributed AI Research Institute, Harvard's Public Interest Tech Lab, and listen to Ethical AI or Are You a Robot podcasts. Spotify is one easy way to access these thinkers and follow the process because it's a very ongoing conversation. And now we're going to get into my favorite topic, which is start building Gen AI into your programs with the improved retrieval and domain-specific intelligence that employers crave. So ChatGPT, Claude, etc. are very generalized models, and they become much more powerful when they're curated on specific data sets and they are taught and customized in such a way that which they have a structured process in how they review and retrieve their answers. So programmers can create web apps with customized large language model capabilities built into them. So we teach this in our generative AI for web apps course. And this is an example of a web app that we help teach you how to build while teaching you the lessons of how to work with an API in order to access these large language capabilities. And in this case, you are accessing other APIs as well on weather and on vacation spots in particular regions. And then the user can specify their criteria for a plan, and OpenAI's large language model capabilities are not only good for conversation, but it's pretty masterful at organization as well. So it takes all of these inputs and runs it through its reasoning model in order to take into consideration, based on the data it's been trained on how humans like to have vacations, that you're going to need to sleep, you're going to need multiple meals per day, you're going to need to account for the weather and dress a certain way. And these all fuse together for a comprehensive itinerary that it builds you. So our course, Generative AI Web Apps, covers an intro to developing generative AI web apps, which is basically the introduction to what machine learning is, what generative AI, generative AI works, how to work with OpenAI's API, and how to introduce security measures and things like that to your particular customized web app. Building complex generative web AI web apps now starts to get into bringing in multiple APIs, having them work all together, and having guiding the ways and structure in which the large language model is generating its responses. So a lot of people don't realize that when you, as a user, are asking one question, the model itself is usually rephrasing that question in multiple ways and refeeding it back into itself, overviewing outputs, and going through this kind of multi-step process before it gives you that output that you see. And the programmers are guided in a way to make this a kind of structured process depending on what kind of output you're trying to get. And it involves, and then the third class is enhancing generative AI web apps with domain-specific content. So the the OpenAI, I mean, ChatGPT and Claude are general, and so their answers are not as powerful as if they were really trained on a specific area. And while they've been trained on a lot of different data, they still have kind of holes in particular areas that your company might be incredibly interested in. And or just kind of want a particular slant towards a particular way. Like, like if you were to build a recipe app, it might be on veganism, or it might be food that's specific to a particular region, like Sonora, Mexico. So you would want to kind of train it on that data specifically and have it structured in such a way that it's going to review that data in a way that makes the most sense for what the outputs are. And so that's all having to do with retrieval augmented generation. So it's augmenting the ways in which the AI retrieves its outputs. And you build a Chef Boost recipe app, to the point about recipes. That's why recipes were on the mind for me. And includes a bonus, which is intro to coding with ChatGPT. So there are a lot of companies that use OpenAI, which is the model that we primarily have you interacting with in our program, to make their apps more powerful. So this is a very common practice now, because there's so much research and effort that's gone into creating the models that have that are available to us so far that a lot of companies consider it much more cost savvy to just utilize them for their own benefit. So Bing um, uses Copilot. Copilot is powered by ChatGPT, and it's the search engine. Duolingo is the language learning app. They've used AI for language lessons and proficiency testing for a good while now. But Duolingo now uses generative AI and Duolingo Max, their newest subscription powered by OpenAI's ChatGPT. So learners can put up a chat to get explanations on their answers and ask for examples. And the role play feature even lets users practice real world conversations with characters, which are chatbots in the app. And Shutterstock in 2021 began partnering with OpenAI to provide them with images to train DALL-E, and which is OpenAI's text-to-image model. Once DALL-E launched, Shutterstock integrated it into its own AI image generator. Other companies using OpenAI include Morgan Stanley, Wix, Typeform, Khan Academy, and Stripe. And AI engineering is a multifaceted specialty for developers. So I'm going to go over this last part a little quickly because it gets pretty technical. In the future, I might include more in-depth webinars if that's of interest to you. But I just kind of want to go, like, if you're like, what does this involve even? I just kind of want to touch on a little bit of that, and then I want to leave room for questions. So there's efficient and responsible model usage. OpenAI uses tokens as an example. You want to control the costs and optimize their performance. So tokens have to do with the cost of when you're building with ChatGPT, and best practices for handling the inputs and outputs. Client-side safety and security with using the API. Performance monitoring and quality control. These are all things that we teach in our program. So you can actually track the performance in an in-depth way, and strategies for detecting performance issues. And then retrieval augmentation and search is applying wide versus narrow retrieval strategies depending on the analysis requirements, using vector databases and structured search effectively. Integrating AI into web interfaces involves understanding how to design the front end, back end communication patterns for AI-driven features. Working with multiple AI APIs and data sources. So you might want to work with APIs, but you might also work with documentation internalized in your company. So that involves ETL's best practices for extracting, transforming, and loading the data. Prompt engineering and dynamic prompt design. I touch on what prompt engineering involves a little bit earlier. And you might also want to design prompts that incorporate dynamic user input and enforce structured output formats. So the prompt itself will be structured, but it'll kind of include open spots for users to kind of mad lib their input to create these customized prompts. But internally within the program. And then building and deploying AI agents can involve implementing agents, which are tools that they perform multi-step reasoning, and they decide how to process information based on the user's prompt and decide which databases are important to tap into and which steps to take. So these are agents that are making these decisions using the large language model's reasoning capabilities within the program itself. And this is not just for software companies or software as a service companies. And if you are an engineer for a software as a service company, it's not just for building features for your users with the software. You can create tools for internal usage that are more specific for the goals of the company / the particular role, for data analysis for marketing trends, content creation for emails, landing pages, and sales decks, surfacing customer service and support insights, SOPs, standard operating procedure generation for operations teams, and workflow automation. And I just want to just kind of tease that in February, there will be a coming AI tools for designers workshop hosted in Figma. It's going to be very interactive, very cool. And I'll be getting into some specifics about how to implement AI tools into your workflow for designers. So thank you so much. That ran a little bit longer than I meant it to, so maybe people will be able to stay a little bit longer for questions. And as a thank you for today, I just want to throw in that our course, Generative AI for Web Apps, a coupon code that you can use to get 10% off the one-time fee, which is $889 with the code. We also have monthly plan options available, and it will take 10% off of our the plan that's directly through us. We also provide plans through Klarna and Affirm. You would be able to access those by going through the one-time payment option, and then they break that up into monthly installment plans based on a soft credit check, and they are available once you log in and put in your coupon code and you select how you would like to pay if you're looking for that option. They do have some of the lowest payment plans available for those who are eligible. I also want to throw in that we also provide a Get Hired program for people who are looking for their next opportunity in tech or are looking for their first job in tech if you have gone through another program and have tech skills. And that's available at a 10% discount as well using the coupon code.
Thank you, Tori. So much great information. If you missed anything, we will be sharing this recording. So just take a look at that. And if you do have other questions, even if we don't get to them right now, throw them in the chat because we are recording that as well. We can have Tori follow up with you afterwards or create a blog post. But Tori, there was a question from Laura in the chat that I'd love to actually address right now. And Laura is asking if you have already dabbled in machine learning and building agents, what is the best place to showcase those projects? Kaggle, GitHub, their own website. What are your thoughts on that?
In our Get Hired program, we know that there's a multiple ways that employers will find you and look at your information, and then ideally they lead into other different materials that you've curated so that they all kind of form together to create a whole picture of you as a person and also to verify to them that you are a real person. You may have heard that there are trends of AI like tools being used to mass apply for jobs. So more than ever, employers are looking for ways to verify that you're a whole person. So I would suggest GitHub as well as featuring your projects on LinkedIn and, of course, kind of breaking them down on what exactly that it is that you did on your resume as well. And all of them should be linking to each other. Your resume should have your links to your GitHub. Your portfolio should have your links to, oh, I didn't even mention your portfolio. Your portfolio is very important, and your portfolio is kind of a curated way for you to specifically display your projects. And then that should also link to your GitHub and also link to your resume and also link to your LinkedIn. So all the ways that you can think of. GitHub is the most commonly used, so I would feature it there and allow for it to either be deployed directly or include directions for how people can deploy and interact with your model.
Thank you. And I literally just hosted an event yesterday on AI bots mass applying to roles. So it is very much a real issue. I just popped that link in the chat if anyone's curious how they can kind
Oh, I don't know if Rob froze for you all. He kind
of.
of froze for me.
Oh, am I
What did you say at
back?
the end there?
Oh,
Yes.
I was just saying, yeah, I just popped an event we just did on that exact topic into the chat. But another
Mhm.
question I had for you, Tori, is that everything's changing so fast, and I think people feel very hard. It's like its own struggle just to keep up, and even some of the tools that you mentioned today might not be around 3 months from now or a year from now. So, what's the
Mhm.
best way for people to stay ahead of the curve as AI continues to change rapidly?
So, tech is the known fast moving industry, and it's really important to have some newsletters, or at least in my case, a newsletter in mind that helps you keep up with the times. TLDR is my favorite because it draws from multiple sources. TLDR stands for Too Long Didn't Read, and they provide a paragraph summary of everything, and they send out this newsletter on a daily basis. There's two parts of this to consider that it's easy to just get caught up in any shiny new thing And I would look for trends more than I would look for the very first time something is mentioned. So people will release tools and it'll sound really cool by the description. And if you never hear about it again, it's a possibility that it didn't kick off. Also, focusing on the foundations is always going to get you a lot further than just kind of going for the newest framework, the newest tool, because frameworks and tools come and go. So, really zoning in on programming fundamentals, which include the code, but also include how to think and deconstruct problems and how to approach them. So really getting hard on those will keep you priceless. But I would recommend following a daily or weekly, at least, newsletter to help keep up with the times.
I love that. And also, shameless plug, coming to events like this are always a good idea as well, because you can hear from that and also connect with fellow folks, share in the chat at events like this. Oh, what tools are you using? Because you might learn something new that way as well.
Yes. There's no replacement for talking to other people about
Mm.
resources and seeing what other people have tried. And some of them will say, you're like, I tried this and I hated it. And they're like, I hated it too. But then I learned how to do this and this. And it actually totally changed my workflow. And so, yes, highly recommend that.
And
Thank you
just
for
a
throwing that in, Rob, because I'm a big advocate of talking to other people.
I agree. That's why I love doing these. And just a question from Ray in the chat. They were looking for maybe a lower cost option since their money's kind of limited right now because of layoffs. I don't know if Skill Crush has any other kind of free or lower cost courses. What I would say, Ray, is again, kind of going back to events like this.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, Rob is frozen for me
Oh
again.
no, is it me?
It might
Am
just
I
be me.
back?
I don't know.
It might just be you.
Yes,
I
you're
don't know.
back.
But I was just going to say to Ray's point that best to kind of come to again events like this because you'll be able to get some of that. Oh no, I'm frozen. Oh, am I back? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Anyway, maybe you can take the question since I keep freezing.
Yes, events like these, free for access. We also have lots of amazing resources on our blog, including some ways to learn about AI stuff. We get in depth about Skill Crush's blog. We get in depth about machine learning, how generative AI works. And so tapping into those kinds of resources will get you involved in all of this um, before you're ready to make the investment in learning a comprehensive set of skills.
Yeah, and I would also say, and hopefully you can all hear me. I would also say, just dive in and just try out some of the many tools that Tori mentioned because those are
All of them have
luckily for
free
the most part
demos.
free. Exactly, and just try that
Mhm.
out. And last
Mhm.
question for you, Tori, before we let you and everyone else go. Just taking a step back, how can organizations build these inclusive pathways into AI careers for underrepresented groups? Because a lot of folks right now, can you hear me? You're leading.
Oh yeah, totally. Yes. I was just looking for my own resource on this.
I
Um,
think that's a real top thing that people are right now kind of stressing over with AI is that it's going to be detrimental to underrepresented groups. So what are your thoughts on that?
I I'm so glad that's such a great question and it's so important for now and that's like the way to for us to really kind of keep things in perspective. I would say that it has a lot to do with just promoting accessibility and inclusivity in the job force overall. This is another case where those same qualities are really just priceless and need to be emphasized that sometimes underrepresented groups don't have as much access to being able to get in on cutting edge technology and just really kind of providing opportunities for that, by supporting education, continuing education within your program. Power Up, which is Power to Fly's whole set up for ways to empower employers and employees to to power up includes classes on inclusive AI usage, inclusive interviewing, inclusive onboarding, disability in the workplace, and how to promote diversity within the workplace. And those are all still, are not still, but even more relevant today than they were in the past. And and our whole thing at Skill Crush is trying to get more diverse, awesome people into tech, and that is in AI now. So those things need to be promoted even more so than they were in the past.
Yes, I think that's well said. And I think the way that we're going to mitigate that bias, potential bias in AI is by having more inclusive, a broader spectrum of people who are creating the AI to begin with. So I think it kind of all
Absolutely.
is a circle in that way. And I think coming to events like this and checking that out is definitely a great first step. So thank you so much, Tori, for everything. If anyone missed anything, we will be sharing this recording, or perhaps you're watching the recording right now. So thank you so much. Actually, our final event of the year. So I want to wish you all a happy holiday and a healthy end of 2025 and a great start of 2026. We actually already have our next event with Tori scheduled for January. So you can go on Power to Fly's website and check that out, or check your inboxes. We'll link to that there as well. Thank you again for spending 30 minutes with us and taking your own next step in your professional career. And we will all see you all in the new year. Thank you all.